All right, good evening, fifth graders. Tonight we're going to be dividing some more, but today we're going to be deciding, are we going to be finding the decimal or are we going to be dividing using the remainder, okay? Interpreting the remainder is what we're working with today. So when or this evening, you're going to have to be reading the question, and whatever the question's asking will decide what you're going to be doing with the remainder, okay? Let's take a look at a couple of these examples here. Very first problem here. We have, there are 100 minutes of computer time for 8 students to share equally. How many minutes should each student get? So we're dealing with minutes here. We have 100 minutes to work with. We have 8 students. We have to divide. So we're going to take 100 and divide it by 8. There's 100 students to work with, 100 minutes to work with, there's 8 students. 8 goes into 1, 0 times. 8 times 0 is 0. I'm going to subtract, get a 1. I'm going to bring down the 0. 8 goes into 10, 1 time. 8 times 1 is 8. Subtract, bring down the 0. 8 goes into 20 how many times? 8 goes into 20 twice. 8 times 2 is 16. Subtract, I'm going to get a 4. Now I'm dealing with minutes here. I have to decide what I want to do with this remainder. Remainder 4. What would remainder 4 be in minutes? Not quite sure. So let's keep on going with decimals. Put the decimal here, put the decimal here. I'm going to bring down another 0. 8 goes into 40 5 times. 8 times 5 is 40. I'm going to subtract. I get 0. So my answer is 12.5. I'm going to look at this answer, and I'm going to go and take a look at the question again. The question states this. There are 100 minutes. My answer is 12.5. Each student gets 12.5 minutes. So what does that mean? Okay. 12.5 minutes would mean 12 minutes and half of a minute. So we know 12.5 would be 30 seconds. 0.5, half a minute would be 30 seconds. My answer is 12 minutes and 30 seconds that each student gets. Let's take a look at another one of these problems here. I have some more examples. A roller coaster holds 30 people. There are 252 people waiting for a ride. How many times will the roller coaster need to run so all 252 people can get a ride? Key thing is all here. So we can't leave anyone in line to ride. Well, we're going to be dividing, right? 252 divided by 30. So we want to see how many times this roller coaster needs to go. Well, 30 goes into 2, 0 times. 30 times 0 is 0. I'm going to subtract. I'm going to bring down the 5. 30 goes into 25, 0 times. 30 times 0 is 0. I'm going to subtract, bring down the 2. How close can 30 get into 252? Well, I got to do some math on the side. 30 times, let's try 6. It's 180. I can get a lot closer than that. Let's go 30 times 8. 240. 240 is as close as we're going to get. We're going to have an 8 here. 30 times 8, 240. I'm going to subtract here. I get a 2 and a 1. I'm going to take this and bring it on up because I can't get a decimal of a person. So this means remainder 12. And the reason why I kept it as a remainder, kids, is when I'm dealing with people, I'm not going to keep on going and have a decimal of a person. Okay, that's kind of strange when you're thinking about people, okay? So I'm going to take a look at my answer here. 8 remainder 12. So my answer is 8 remainder 12. So my number sentence, you're going to be seeing this in your assignment tomorrow. I'm going to go 252 divided by 8 equals, let's go R for roller coaster. My answer is 8 remainder 12. What does the remainder represent? Extra people, right? These are the 12 people that didn't get on the original roller coaster. What did you do with the remainder? Did we ignore the remainder? That means if we ignored it, that means those 12 people didn't get to go on a roller coaster. Did we report it as a fraction or a decimal? We didn't report it as a fraction or a decimal because we can't have a decimal of a person or a fraction of a person. We rounded the answer up. We had to round the answer up. So the answer to the problem isn't 8 remainder 12. The answer would be, how many roller coaster rides do they need? The answer is 9. Let's take a look at more of these examples here. 3 more examples. It costs $50 to be a member of a soccer team. The team plays 8 games during the season. What is the cost per game? Well, we know we're going to have to go 50 divided by 8. They want to know what the cost is per game. That should be a huge hint to tell you that our answer should be in a decimal form. Dealing with costs is decimal, okay? So we're going to go 8 goes into 5, 0 times. 0 subtract, got a 5 here. Bring down the 0. 8 goes into 50. 8 times 6 is 48. I have a 2 here. I can't have a remainder when dealing with money. So I'm going to put a decimal here, bring down the 0. 8 goes into 20 twice. 8 times 2 is 16. Subtract. I still have to keep going here with zeros. 8 times 40 is 5. 40. Subtract 0. Answer is $6.25. So what is the cost per game? $6.25 is the cost per game. What did you do with the remainder? We reported it as a decimal, right? That's why we got the 25 cents. Why? Because we are dealing with money. That's the reason why, kids. We can't ignore that extra 25 cents. Okay? Let's do another example here. Lynn is having a party. Pizzas cost $8 each. How many pizzas can she buy for $60? So how many pizzas she can buy? They each are $8. She wants to know how many she can buy. So we're gonna go with 60 divided by 8, right? We don't have to put all the decimals in there. 8 goes into 6, 0 times. 8 times 0 is 0. Subtract out of 6, I'm gonna bring down the 0. 8 goes into 60. 8 times 9 is 72. 8 times 8 is 64, so we're going to have to go 8 times 7, which is 56. Subtract, get a 4 here. I can kind of see what I'm going to do here. I have to use this. Do I want to go with a decimal or do I want to go with a remainder? Well, we're dealing with money, right? So let's go with a decimal. Actually, we're dealing with money here. So we want to see how many we can go in there. So we're going to bring down the 0. 8 goes into 5, how many times? 5? Or 8 goes into 40, how many times? 5 times. I guess we could go remainder or decimal on this one, okay? 40, subtract, we got 0, okay? So let's take a look here. How many we reported as a decimal or a fraction, okay? How many pizzas can we get? We can get 7 pizzas. You can't order half of a pizza, right, kids? We have 7 pizzas. Why are we going to report it as a fraction? Actually, we ignored it, didn't we, kids? We ignored this extra one. I apologize, okay? That's why I'm looking back at my work. This decimal, this 0.5, could also be a remainder 4, or it can be a 0.5. We have to ignore it because you can't do anything with that extra pizza, that extra money, extra 4, I guess it's the extra $4. You can't do anything with it because you can't buy a pizza for $4 because it's each $8. Why did we ignore it? Because the extra $4 can't buy anything. I apologize if I made that kind of confusing, but I'll just reiterate what I was going over here. Each pizza is $8. You have $60 to spend. So we're dividing that 60 by 8, okay? We have $4 left over. You can't do anything with that extra $4. That's why we're ignoring it. But we can buy 7 pizzas because 8 times 7 is 56, which is $56. We can buy 7 pizzas. So you see how this problem kind of worked a little bit with money and with pizzas. So that's why right here it says report as a fraction or decimal. You kind of be working with fraction or decimals and remainders. Just keep in mind when you're looking at your problems tonight or tomorrow when you're in class, if you're dealing any kind of money, it's most likely, most of the time is going to be with a decimal. And if you're dealing with people, or animals, or anything like that, we're probably going to have a remainder for an answer because we're not going to be slicing animals and people in half in order to figure out a math problem, all right? Hopefully this helps, and I'll work with you tomorrow in class.